Good morning, everyone. Welcome to LisaBug Yin Yoga. We're in the month of February 2023. So, our focus has been that fusion of working on the first half of our practice being a little bit more movement oriented, vibrant, working on poses that are derived from strong standing positions in a strong warrior position, strong upper body lunge position. And then we're going to fuse that with the end of our class being longer held stretches, that yin side of our practice where we really get into some deep stretches. So today's focus is combating some of those strains in our body from excessive shoveling of snow, as we're in the midst of that in a lot of our country today. So what I'd like for you to do, if you've got a little prop that you can sit on, I've got a blanket. We're going to be doing some positions where you might like to prop up a hip. A little pillow would work great too. Also, you might need your yoga block or your strap. And we're going to start seated today. So if you do like that little bit of lift of your hips when you sit in simple sitting pose, I really like that because it lifts the hips, it gives your knees some space to lower, and it allows your pelvis to be in a really strong neutral position sitting upright. You can also begin your practice in a chair as well. Let's just close our eyes and begin to center and ground and to come into this place with your mind, with your emotions, with your body, all joined together in that union of yoga. And we acknowledge that our body's a little bit different each and every time we come to our mat. So we'll be accepting of who we are and where we are today in our practice, honoring who we are, providing modifications as needed for any of the poses. Bring your awareness to your breath and send it deep into your belly as you inhale. And the belly might even drift forward and expand like a balloon. Then as you exhale, gently draw your belly in and brace the Uddiyana Bandha. And that's that abdominal lock where we tighten the muscles of the abdomen just above and below the navel area. We'll take 3 more breaths in through the nose, out through the nose or the mouth. Sitting up a little taller with your last 2 breaths. And last inhale deeply. Exhale completely. And we'll pause for a moment, maybe setting an intention for our practice today. It's okay if you don't have an intention, or in other words, a goal, the reason that you're here today practicing. If you don't have an intention, just allow yourself to be open to possibilities today. You can keep your eyes closed or open with a soft gaze, and we'll take a gentle twist to the right, bringing the left hand across the right knee, the right hand behind you, rotating the spine, and take your head, twisting that neck, looking as far as you can over your right shoulder. Find that deep breath here. And then keep your twist to the right, but just turn your head only to the left as we come into a spiral twist. Sitting a little taller, 1 more breath. As you exhale, the head comes back to the neutral position and the spine as well. And before we switch sides, we'll circle the spine in the hips by taking the body to the right side, then to the front, to the left side, and slightly back. We'll take about 5 or 6 circles around. And just notice how your lower back is feeling. So if you have been doing snow shoveling, this area might feel a little tender, might feel a little tight. So allow those feelings in your body guide the depth of this circle. And one more time around. And we come back to neutral. Increase the length of your spine and we'll twist to the left. Right hand comes across, left hand behind. You can gently use the pressure of this right hand on your left knee to guide this twist, but just gently. We don't want to ever crank a twist by forcing. And notice what the range of motion is in your spine and specifically in your neck here. We come back to the breath. And then we'll leave our spine to the left, but just the head turns right. Spiral twist. And I just felt a big stretch move into my upper back, right between my shoulder blades there. We'll bring the head to the neutral position, the spine as well, hands are on the knees. We'll start to circle the spine, leading to the left, to the front, to the right, and slightly back, bracing the core. So if you're thinking about your breath here, inhale as you have that space as you're coming back, and then exhale as that space is decreasing in your abdominal area. And then as you exhale, again, brace your abs, and that helps to protect your lower back as we're slightly folding forward. And let's come around one more time this direction, just slow and smooth. And then we'll come back to neutral. Let's come into Z-sit position. For my Pilates people, this is known as mermaid. So we'll take the left leg and bring it around to the side. Now, when I sit in mermaid, my hips are pretty tight. So it's really important for me to come up on a bit of a blanket on my right hip. And this is going to allow the hips to be a little bit more even. They don't have to be completely even because we are going to be taking our body on this right angle. Right hand comes down to the mat. We'll lift the left arm and we're creating a dynamic straight line by reaching into the fingertips. Then rotate your left shoulder blade back and try to look up at the ceiling. Let your left arm float behind you, creating a stretch for your pecs. Then we'll twist, bringing this left hand underneath the right armpit, but scoop your abdominals in as you do. So hollow out your belly. You're slightly rounding your back. And we'll do this twice more, really slow. Big, expansive inhale. Exhale, hollow out the belly, scoop it in as you rotate. And one more. Twists are really important to release stress in the lower back. Wonderful when we've been doing forward folding actions such as shoveling snow. Let's reach up one more time to hold. Then use the strength of your side body to pull yourself up, and we'll do 3 side stretches side to side for lateral flexion of the spine. And you can come down as low as you want here. Maybe really bend the elbow. Reach and bring it up. So we're lengthening and strengthening the QL, the quadratus lumborum, in the lower back. Then come back to neutral. Hold. Bring your hands to the front and then walk your fingertips down for just a little gentle stretch for your right glute and hip. It's a seated pigeon. One more breath here. And then walk yourself back up. And we'll reverse this by taking the hands behind us and then guiding yourself back any amount. So what we're doing here is stretching through the quadricep and the hip flexor. If this is uncomfortable for you and you can reach your ankle, you can also do the stretch from here. So we're pulling heel to glute, drawing the knee back. I love both options here. Last breath. And exhale to come back up. Let's take this side leg, the left leg, bring it around to the front and see if it's comfortable for you to cradle it here with your hands right underneath the shin. And we're just going to rock this side to side really slowly. If it's difficult for you to reach that, it's nice to take your yoga strap. You can wrap it around, you can hold it here and just guide the leg across. So we're really warming up through this left hip, through whatever range of motion feels great for you. And just two more. And last one. And then release if you're using the yoga strap. Now this left leg becomes the front leg as we transition to our mermaid or our Z-sit on the other side. So the right leg now becomes the side leg. Prop up that left hip if you need. Really does help with this pelvic positioning. And then reach the left fingertips out. I'm not really putting a lot of pressure on this hand. You can even just tent your fingertips. And then we'll open this up, find this really long diagonal line, open back, take a nice breath in, even looking behind you. Then exhale, scoop the belly in, rotate, reach under that left armpit, look behind you. Wow, what a great release for the low back. And again, we can use our hand on the mat to help give us a little bit more range of motion, but not to crank that twist around. And one more time, inhale, open. Exhale, twist, maybe finding a little bit more range of motion. Then open and hold. Let's use the strength of our side body in QL to bring ourselves up. It's a little harder to stretch this way, so go as far as you can and then guide yourself down and reach the arm as far as you can toward your ear in a comfortable range of motion. This is going to release our lats and they get super tight anytime we're doing repetitive snow shoveling or other activities that are similar. This is our last one here. And then we come up and hold. Bring the hands right to the front. Now, if it's difficult for you to reach the floor, that's where a block comes in really handy here. So we can hold onto the block and guide ourselves down any amount to feel that stretch in your left hip. And this is just a small stretch. It's not our yin stretch yet, so we're not going really deep into the connective tissue, just enough to release any tightness and tension. One more breath. Then press yourself up on the exhalation and reverse this by bringing your fingertips behind you. Now I am really tight in my quads, so I'll go back about to here and that's great. I know there's folks that can lay all the way down on their back on the floor and say, gosh, I don't even feel a stretch. Well, that's never been me, so it certainly is not going to be me in my 60s. So just take this wherever it feels comfortable. You can also grab that ankle, pull it back here, as long as we're feeling this openness through the quad and hip flexor. And a lot of snow shoveling is going to tighten up that hip flexor iliopsoas muscle, putting strain on the lower back. All right, let's come on up. And now this right leg will spin around to the front. And then you do your form of cradle the baby. So you can take hands here. You can wrap that yoga strap around and hold on to it. Sit up tall and then bring it to the front and out. So you'll notice you feel that stretch increasing as the leg is coming across. Just dynamic movement. This helps us to pump a little bit of synovial fluid into our hip joint, acts as a cushioning for the joint. Almost there, one more. And then release that strap or the leg and come into butterfly. So this is our Baddha Konasana. Another pose that might feel better if you're up on a little bit of a blanket. And just notice where your knees are. Let them fall open, lengthen your spine, and then hinge yourself forward any amount without rounding your back. So just come forward with a neutral spine until you feel the inner thigh stretching, as well as the lower back. As we breathe, brace the lower abdominal, that Uddiyana Bandha. We'll take 2 more breaths here, wherever you are today in this stretch. And the tightest link in the chain of muscles that are stretching will dictate how far you go in this pose. All right, let's release. Come on up. And then we'll come into a downward facing dog. Now, if you'd prefer to use your chair for down dog, come on up and bring that over close to your mat, and you can place your hands right on top of your chair and walk your feet back and drop your heels down into the mat. And just take a moment here and check in. How is this feeling for you today? Do you have any pain or discomfort anywhere? Do we need to accommodate this pose by deeply bending the knees? And then find your breath. If you have wrist problems, you can always come down into dolphin by dropping down to the forearms, taking the pose here. Or really, that chair is a wonderful prop to be able to do a comfortable down dog without a lot of pressure on your shoulders. So we'll take one more breath here and then begin to walk your feet up toward where the top of your mat is. If you're using a chair, that's where your chair will be, is right at the top of your mat. And let's bend our knees really deeply, bring the hands to the heart center, and rise up to chair pose, Utkatasana. So today, let's do a baby chair. So not a big bend in the knees, but what I want you to do is focus on really bracing your abdominals. This is important for a lot of snow shoveling, because if we use our legs and bend our knees, we won't have as much pressure on the lower back, especially if those abdominals are engaged. Now the arms can also reach forward or up. And we're just going to dynamically move up and down from our chair pose at any rate of speed by coming up to stand fully and then bending those knees and sinking down. So sometimes I see a chair pose and it starts to look like this, where there's a really big bend forward of the upper body. And we don't want to allow that to happen. So I want you to keep your eye gaze forward, your chest up, sit your hips back. And you're making a little thunderbolt of your body. Sometimes you'll hear a chair pose called thunderbolt. So it's kind of like a little Z position where we have that flexion in the ankles, the knees, the hips, and then into the shoulders, depending on where you are with your arms. Now I want you to really ground into your feet with a strong, solid foundation. Really functional movement to come in and out of chair, strengthening those quads and glutes. Let's do 2 more. Sink down, rise up, 1 more. And as we take it down, hold your chair pose. Notice that your knees should be facing straight ahead. We don't want the knees to collapse in. So really align those knees directly over your feet. And then we'll twist to the right. You can make this a small twist, bringing your right hand behind slightly. But again, we don't want to round or lean forward, so keep that chest up. And then we'll come to the other side, twist to the left. So when we do snow shoveling, we have our knees bent, we have that little bit of a forward lean, and then a lot of times as we're sending the snow off to one side, we're rotating. So here, we don't have that resistance of heavy snow, but we're going through the range of motion and finding good alignment with this. Let's go 1 more each side. Twisting right, feel the work in your legs. Twisting left. Then come back to center, solid chair. And then we'll rise up to mountain and bring your hands behind you and imagine you're holding a big beach ball back there. So you're lifting the ball away from your back and you're pressing your hands inward to hold it in place. And let's sit into chair. And then as you stand, reach back, squeeze the arms together, that imaginary beach ball. Let's do 2 more. Down and squeeze back. Bringing your shoulder blades together. 1 more. And squeeze back. Take your right foot back behind you. Plant your foot into warrior 1. So we have the back toe slightly turned out, back leg is straight, front knee is bent, and we're still in our beach ball position. Tightening the upper back. So I'm going to give you 3 different positions for the arms. This will be beach ball. And then the second one will be chest expansion. So you'll open the arms like a goalpost. So they're here. And then the third one is straight up or any amount that your shoulders will allow. So each time we go in between those 3 positions, our arms come to the center to begin the position. So come back to beach ball, squeeze. Come forward, open out to chest expansion, squeeze. Come forward, and then lift straight up. Let's do that 1 more time. Come forward to prepare, back to beach ball, forward, chest expansion, forward, and then up. Come back to forward and we'll step that right foot into a baby chair pose. So what we're going to do is repeat those 3 positions, but each time we do, we'll be stepping the right foot back. So same like we had back before, step back and do beach ball. Step forward into chair. Step back into chest expansion. Step forward to chair. Lift the arms as you step back. Forward to chair. We'll do that 2 more times on this right leg. Step back, beach ball. Forward to chair. Chest expansion. Forward to chair. Arms up. Forward to chair. 1 more time. Beach ball. A little bit of balance here. Forward to chair. Chest expansion. Pull those elbows back. Forward to chair. Arms up. Forward to chair and hold. Then come up, mountain pose. All right, without stepping back and forth, we'll prep the other side. So your left foot steps back into warrior one. Square off your hips. Tighten the back leg so it's as straight as you can get it. And then bring your arms forward. We'll come behind into beach ball. Come forward with the arms. Open out into chest expansion. Keep those abs tight. Now lift straight up. And again, beach ball. Squeeze. So we're strengthening the back. Chest expansion. Looking at range of motion. And up. Building good posture. Let's do one more standing in place. Squeeze your left glute muscle. Open out. Make sure you're breathing with each of these movements. And let's lift up. Then as we come forward, step that left foot into chair pose. So try not to rush between these movements because I want you to get a solid chair each time you come forward. The left foot steps back, beach ball. Step into chair. Chest expansion. Chair. Arms up, good warrior one. And chair. Beach ball. Solid placement of your feet. Chair pose. Chest expansion. We're looking for that good pada bandha. Chair. Arms lift any amount. And chair. One more of each movement. Exhale. Step forward. And back. And forward. And up. And into chair we hold. And then rising up to mountain pose. Find good posture, solid alignment, pull those abs in, standing as tall as you can. And then you'll be stepping one foot back, and it depends on which foot you want to be able to face your computer, so that now we're long ways on our mat together. And I'll be cueing this as the right side and this as the left. So let's bring the feet fairly wide, slightly turn those toes out and bend the knees and sink down, come into goddess squat. So goddess squat, we have the wrists flexed, the elbows are slightly lower than the shoulders. We pull those abdominals in. We're tracking our knees over the feet. And then we'll inhale up to 5-pointed star. So extend through the fingertips, stretch everything up. Exhale into goddess squat. And again, breathe in. So we're not flexing forward at the waist. We're staying upright with our body and pulling those abdominals in. One more. Now hold this. It doesn't have to be deep into the legs. Reach the arms out, and we are going to shift our upper body to the right side, and then shift your upper body to the left. The arms can be lower. It's not about the arms or the shoulders. It's about taking your rib cage and gliding it to the side, and gliding it to the side without affecting your pelvis. So essentially, we're increasing one side of the waist. We're going slow, so we're activating those muscles in the side body. If you need a break at any time for your legs, you can come up. Now let's glide out as far as we can to the right, and then side stretch. Come back up, glide as far as you can to the left, and side stretch. Now, can you do this with your legs straight? Yeah, you can do the same thing without working your thighs and glutes. But if you can manage, let's get those legs engaged here. Let's do one more each side and try not to forget to get the glide in first. And then to the left side, glide and stretch and come up. Center, reach up to five-pointed star, and then release your arms down. So we are going to do that same process in Warrior Two. So this right foot turns out, your left foot turns in, so it's parallel to the back edge of your mat. Bend that right knee, come into a good, strong, solid foundation of your Warrior Two. Arms are lengthened, shoulder blades are back, and we are going to glide to the right, then come into side angle pose. And you can brace here on your thigh, take a good side stretch, come back up, glide to the left. This is a little bit more difficult, and come into reverse warrior. We come up and we glide. Side angle. Up. Glide. Reverse warrior. Up. One more of each. Glide it out as far as you can go. Side stretch. And up. And glide. Reverse warrior. And back up. Now we're going to take this right hand and bring it across and give yourself a stretch through your shoulder and look over your right shoulder. If you want to come into eagle arms, you're going to tuck this left elbow underneath the right and then spiral your hands together. Keep pulling the arms toward the back foot as the head looks toward the front foot. Really releasing any tension you have in the upper back, right between those shoulder blades. Now I want to give you the opportunity to stay upright here for you today if this feels the best. Or we're going to bow this into humble warrior. So we'll align the elbows more toward the front and then round down, scooping your abdominals in. If you're feeling lower back tension here or any pain, come back up. Or just here a couple of breaths. Returning back up, unravel your arms, reach it out. And then lower down. Hands can come to your hips or heart center, anywhere you want as we adjust the position of the feet. So right foot pivots in, left foot pivots out. We come into our strong warrior. And we keep this knee firmly planted over the ankle. So try not to let it migrate itself in. Back leg is nice and straight. We have that glute tightened. And then we will glide to the left. Then side angle pose. Pull yourself up with a strong side body. Glide back. And reverse warrior. Come up. Glide. Find that shift in your rib cage. Keep the pelvis really stable. And let's go one more each direction. Whatever your range of motion is today is going to be absolutely perfect in your practice. And come right into the center, balancing the head right between both sides of your pelvis. We'll bring this left hand now to come across. Look over the left shoulder. And this might feel enough for you for the shoulder stretch. Or we can tuck this right elbow underneath the left, coming into eagle, pulling those elbows across toward the right shoulder, looking over the left. Now, if your legs are really talking, that left quad and glute are tired, you can straighten this up. Or if you want to go deeper down, hold this. Breathe into that space right between your shoulder blades, and you can stay here for the duration of the pose. Or let's bring those elbows toward the front knee and slightly round the back to create space and release tension in your lower back. Separate your shoulder blades. Let gravity pull your arms down to increase that stretch. One more breath. And let's come up, unravel the arms, reach out into your warrior two. And then we'll straighten both legs up, pivoting both feet straight forward. Hands come down to your hips, or you can make fists and place them right behind your sacrum on each side. We're going to do standing camel. So this doesn't have to be a big back bend. I just want you to think about increasing the length of the front of your spine. So gently squeeze your glutes, press your hips forward, lift your chest up, and extend through your spine any amount. You can slightly tip your head back, but not a lot. We don't want to compress those cervical vertebrae. Or you can keep your head forward, stacking your chin. And let's take 3 breaths here. Try not to let go of the abdominal work. Keep that engaged. 1 more. And come back up, releasing the arms, extend them back out. We'll pivot on the right foot to come back toward the front of our mat. So just reach your hands down to the floor or to your chair and step back into your downward dog. And I want you to compare this down dog to that first one we did, probably a good 15, 20 minutes ago. Drop those heels down. Lengthen through your calf muscles. Tip your sitting bones skyward. And then let your knees find the mat. Press back to child's pose for a nice recovery. So the first yin pose that we're going to do is called the Sphinx. And it is a spinal extension. So we'll be just very gently extending our spine and holding that extension, which combats the effects of hunching forward as we're snow shoveling. So what we want to do is pull ourselves forward, lowered all the way down onto the belly, and then slide your elbows forward underneath your shoulders, and then press yourself up into Sphinx. And then notice if this feels okay on your lower back, because this is the first signal that if this pose is pinching your lower back and it's not feeling good, then what you do is you slide your hands back toward the back a little bit more, and then you're allowed to lower your chest down any amount. Now, if you want to make this more of a working pose rather than more of a resting pose, then lift your hands off the mat and come up into a locust. So you're firing the muscles. If you're making this a little bit more passive, then we just keep those elbows under and lift up, shining your heart center forward. And we'll hold here in our spinal extension. And we're breathing. So when this is done in a yin style, we hold it for a little bit longer period of time. If you're doing it in a strengthening manner, then you might hold for a few seconds and take a break and then come back up. Make sure your neck is long, your shoulders are back. And we'll take 2 more breaths. And then as you lower yourself down, we can create a little bit of a pillow for the forehead so you can keep your head straight forward, but you can breathe so your nose isn't touching the floor. And slowly, so your hamstring doesn't cramp, bend your right knee. And notice, are you feeling now a stretch in your right quadricep or hip flexor? If you're feeling enough of a stretch, you can hold this here. If you want more, you can either loop your yoga strap around your foot, or if you have the capability to reach back and grab it, then we'll gently guide the heel toward the butt. And we're going to hold. If you want to make this more of a yin style, you're relaxing here. You can also roll over onto your left side so that you can hold the stretch here. Sometimes this is a little bit more doable than laying on your belly. If you want to make this work and more dynamic, then you can lift up with the chest, reach the left arm out, and come into your half bow. Strengthening the back muscles, working on a more active position. So wherever you are today, maybe you're trying both. You can do a little bit of the active pose and then rest, restore, and take the yin position. Let's get 2 more breaths here. If you're watching later on YouTube, this is a great time just to pause the video and pay as much attention as you would like to on this right side with longer stretches or more strengthening. All right, let's release that right foot. And then very slowly we'll bend the left knee so as not to activate a cramp in your left hamstring. If this position gives you enough stretch, you're just going to stay here. We can attempt to take that ankle using our yoga strap or rolling onto the right side, or just reaching back if you have that accessibility. And then let's stretch by pulling the heel toward the butt. You can slightly activate your left glute to push the left hip down into the mat. That really does increase my stretch here. So we can stay passive and make this more of a yin style. We can make it active, more heating, yang style, by lifting up into our half bow. Or a little bit of each, whatever your body needs on this side today. Noticing any changes or differences in the right and left sides. Coming back into the breath with your awareness. Breathing slow on the exhalations. Just a couple more breaths here. Or take any extra time that you need. And then we'll release that foot, allow it to float down. Then And slide your hands back underneath your shoulders, protecting your shoulders. Use strong arms to push yourself back up. And we'll come into a wide knee child's pose. We're going to separate our knees a lot wider, our big toes to touch each other. And sit back, drop your belly through the center. Your arms can be reaching out, or you can bring them back next to the sides of your knees. And we'll hold here, releasing any tension in your lower back. That wide knee position gives us a little bit of a hip opener. It also gives us room for our belly in the center so we can find the breath there. And for finding it hard to breathe into the belly, breathe into your back ribs. Breathe into your kidney area. We can find space there by expanding and filling the lungs. One more breath. And then we'll transition to Supta Baddha Konasana, which is our reclined bound angle pose. So take a moment to transition yourself onto your back, bringing along with you any props that you might need. So I'm going to take both of my blocks with me today to prop up my knees as I open them. So this is like our butterfly pose. No rush to get here in this position. Oh, my hips are really tight. I almost need to bring my blocks all the way up to their highest position. So what the blocks do is it gives you something to rest into so that your legs aren't just hanging into space and your muscles trying to tighten. If you don't have that support, it's okay. It's not going to hurt you, but you just have a better chance of relaxing if you have some support. Those of you that took my restorative yoga class, remember one of our mantras was, with support comes release. So when we have that little bit of support, we can relax into it and release those muscles and let go. And we'll just close our eyes, bring our awareness back to the breath. You can place your hand on your belly to just feel the rise and fall as you breathe, or you can bring your arms maybe to goalpost arms or out to the sides of your body. Now, sometimes for some of us, Supta Baddha Konasana is uncomfortable on the back. And if you are in that position and you're really feeling pain or discomfort, then this pose isn't for you. So our option is to bring the knees together to touch and walk the feet out a little wider. So you're making a little tent with your knees coming in. So it's a reverse stretch for the hips, but sometimes that feels better on the lower back. You can also just come to Shavasana if that feels better for you. So we start to really come into the cooling side of our practice, into the restoring side. Restoring the mind and the body and the emotions. Coming into that place of self-care and telling ourselves that we are worthy of this care, of this attention to our body, of this attention to our mind. Never feeling guilty about taking this time for yourself. So I want to give you the option to stay here. This is what your body is needing today. You'll remain in this pose. I want to give you two other options depending on what your body's calling for today. So our second option will be to come into a hamstring stretch by taking the right leg up, sending the left leg down, and maybe you're using your yoga strap under the bottom of the foot. Your third choice is figure 4 stretch if you're needing that hip opener for the piriformis and deep external rotation of the hip. We'll cross the right ankle over the left thigh and bring both knees up. So take a moment to decide which one you would like today. And I'm going to set my timer here for 2 minutes. And we'll hold the stretch that feels best for you. I'm also going to give you the halfway mark. So if you'd like to do 1 minute in hamstring, 1 minute in figure 4, that'll give you both options with a nice stretch for each. When we come back to our breathing, we're listening to our body. Sometimes when we're given choices, we choose the one we like best because maybe we're good at it. And that might be not what the body actually needs. We might need the one that really challenges us a little bit more. So search deep within to know the correct choice for you today in this moment. So we have 1 minute remaining. If you'd like to switch the pose or just stay with the one you're at and perhaps deepen that stretch. And you can still be in your Baddha Konasana, really relaxing and making this an extremely long yin pose, working deeply into the connective tissue. And we're staying fully mindful of our body here in the pose, watching, listening, feeling, making adjustments when necessary. And we have time for about 3 more slow breaths. And then we'll relax down. Before we move to the other side, we'll do just a few windshield wipers. So the feet are as wide as the mat, and we'll just allow the knees to drop side to side. So if you're in your Baddha Konasana, you can choose whether or not to do this. You can just stay in your yin pose. And sometimes it feels nice to come out, even if you're going to go back into Baddha Konasana, feels good to create some movement. All right, so let's prepare for our choices on the other side. So we can go back to Baddha Konasana. We can bring the left leg straight up into your hamstring stretch with or without your yoga strap. Or we can bring the left knee to bend ankle across the right thigh for your figure 4. So our first minute begins now, and I'll give you that halfway position. And just check in on this side. Check back in with your breathing. And if we slow the breath, it really does work on that side of our nervous system that says rest and restore, rest and digest. And in a clinical way, that slow breath can actually reduce the flow of those fight or flight hormones that are in our bloodstream. Epinephrine, norepinephrine, adrenaline, cortisol. If we slow our breathing down, those begin to dissipate. And with that, our heart rate comes down. We're able to relax deeper. We have 1 minute, so maybe we're switching the pose. As you're here in this last pose, go back and revisit the intention that you might have set for class today. Just to see if maybe your goals were met, or if you were open to possibilities. What were the benefits of your practice today? And we have time for about 3 or 4 more slow breaths. And then we'll bring our knees to chest, just hug them in. So if you're still in Baddha Konasana, close those knees together, hug them up to the chest. We'll rock a little bit side to side, which is just a slight self-massage for the low back muscles. You can also do that by circling the knees around and then switching direction. And then just start to think ahead of time how you'd like to come up to a seated position. So give your mind some time to mull that over. Some options are to roll over to our side, or we can start to rock this forward and back with our knees and let that momentum start to rock us all the way up, eventually coming to our comfortable seat where we began our practice today. Sitting up tall with a lengthened spine, find good posture. And then just tip your right ear towards your right shoulder to lengthen the left side of your neck. So there's a couple things we can do here. We can gently place the right hand here to guide a deeper stretch, or we can bring the left hand to wrap behind the back to also increase that length. And when you're ready, release. Tipping the left ear to the left shoulder, we can stay right here. Or some gentle guidance. It's not a pull or guidance, not a pull, but just a guidance. Right hand can reach behind. And then we'll release that and we'll finish with a nice breath together as a community. Inhaling, exhaling as we unite from our homes today, bringing the thumbs to our heart center. And the joy and peace that resides within me honors the joy and peace in each of you.